Thaumaturgy Research Facility. Entry forbidden without permission of the phone master. Now, what could all of this mean? Who is the oh, hello. Comic Fire Symphon. Wonder who that could be. What is this strange place? Darn it. Is that an... What the... Barnyard animals? Whoops. Not what I meant to do. What are they doing here? What does all this mean? A botany lab. Nothing really seems to be growing. What? Well, doesn't this seem like a light source? It opened another door. Where are we going? Another portal. And a chest. Folly by Comic Fire. Could this be... Well... We thought we knew the answers. We thought we were invincible. Gods among men. But we were all fools. We dug out an underground laboratory and started a cloning facility. We started out with animals. Most died, but a few survived. We moved on to botany soon after. It worked to an extent. Our next, and at the greatest, exploit was to clone an iron golem. We nearly succeeded, but ended up with only a few iron ingots in a rose. Undaunted, we continued our work. The youngest of us, Eric, discovered obsidian and its interesting properties. Aligned properly and set aflame, we could cross dimensions. The possibilities were endless. My other two colleagues, Holland and Vincent, were skeptical. "This is too dangerous, Jade. We can't continue," they protested. But I didn't want to give up here. Young Eric kept pushing me also with his enthusiasm. I shouldn't have been so easily swayed. The four of us stepped into the nether, and right away disaster struck. There was nothing in front of us besides a gaping chasm. Vincent, being the first to enter, fell in and burned to death in the lava below. Holland refused to enter. He left after that day, and I didn't see him for many months. Eric and I pressed on, encountering several hellish creatures, such as the species we named Blazes. We fought many, barely making it out alive. We collected several flaming sticks that Eric named Blaze Rods. We returned to the portal and the lab soon after. 4 months passed before Holland returned. In his hand was a curious green orb. He said he found it after a terrifying encounter with a pitch-black creature that attacked him when he looked at it. I was holding a blaze rod at the time, which reacted to the orb. The two coalesced into a jewel that resembled an eye. We put it in storage, wanting to experiment with it later. We hunted down the creatures that attacked Holland. We defeated several, each dropping another orb. I dubbed the creatures Endermen, and the orbs Ender Pearls. We returned to the lab and began tests on the eye jewel. We found that it kept pulling us in one direction. We crafted 11 more and followed their direction, and we were dragged in the middle of a vast ocean. Eric looked down and noticed something, a blinding light emerging from the bottom of the ocean. We dove down. Curiosity eradicating self-preservation. We entered the stronghold that was emitting the light. Before us lay a dusty library and several iron doors. We rapidly destroyed them and pressed into the stronghold. After what seemed like a day of exploring, we came across a room that smelled of death. An altar stood before us. I climbed to the top. At the front, a monster spawner hummed its gentle melody. Beyond that lay 12 slots, and the eye jewels began quivering violently. I placed one in each slot. Before our eyes, a black void appeared in front of us. Eric was foaming at the mouth at the thought of seeing what lay beyond. I must admit my excitement was peaking also. Only Holland was suspicious. "Vincent died this way. We can't go in," he yelled. "But we've come too far to stop now," I stated, stepping into the void. I landed in a dark arena. Eric and Holland followed soon after. The portal back hummed behind us. We looked up and saw the glowing eyes of thousands of Endermen. Holland and I quickly looked down, but Eric couldn't avert his gaze. I covered out my ears to block their horrible cries of bloodlust and Eric's pitiful screams. Both noises slowly died away as the Enderman walked away. There was no sign of Erdrick. "We need to go, Jade. We're going to die here," Holland whispered. I knew he was right, but I couldn't bring myself to leave. I walked forward, head down further into the darkness. I dubbed this land the End. When I'd walked for 20 minutes, I ran headlong into a massive pillar. Backing up, I looked to the top and noticed a shining crystal. Looking around, I noticed several such pillars and crystals. I wondered what they were for, and quickly got my answer. Gliding out of the black sky on dark wings came a massive black dragon. The Endermen around us were unfazed by it. Holland fell to his knees at the side of it, and I knew it was time to leave. I dragged Holland to his feet and started dashing for the exit. We would forget about this tragic nightmare, cave in our underground lab, and lead normal lives. But it's never that simple. We heard a rushing noise and felt a blast of air. We were swept off of our feet as the dragon flew past. The portal back was within sight, and I furiously clawed myself forward to get to it. When I reached it, I looked back to see if Holland had made it. He was running towards the portal, sweat on his face and several Endermen on his tail. I screamed his name, wanting desperately for him to make it. The cry died in my throat as I saw the dragon glide down towards him from the side. The dragon firmly impacted into Holland. The sickening crunch of every bone in his body knocked the breath out of me. I slumped to my knees and tumbled backwards into the portal. Back at the altar, I smashed every eye jewel that I had set up. I slumped next to the monster spawner, unable to cry like I so desperately wanted to do. I wrote this chronicle and placed it in a forbidden section of our lab. To whomever is reading this, do not make the same folly we did. The Nether and the End were never meant to be traversed by humans. And someday I will return to the End and slay the dragon within. If I return, I will place another chronicle within the lab. If I do not, then I shall see my colleagues once more.